Okay, so this is Deuce We the People News. Alright, and this video is without prejudice and or without recourse. Alrighty, I'm not waiving any of my rights, none whatsoever. Okay, now some of you guys may want to check out this channel, A&E. Okay, I don't 100% agree with them per se. Because I don't think some people don't fully comprehend certain things that's going on, because there is people out there challenging the courts and challenging how they've gotten authority over us when we're supposed to be their bosses. Okay? You know, for attorneys, they're for the, I hear for the Crown. I don't have no evidence on that, but I do know for a fact they're on behalf of the courts more than their clients. Okay? This is the reason why attorneys never challenge jurisdiction, really. And they just say, well, the judge says you have jurisdiction, and that just automatically means it'd be true. But even if it's not, let's define what this case is about a little bit and what this guy is trying to do, okay? And it may or may not have sovereign immunity or sovereign citizen thing in there. You guys already know how I feel about the sovereign citizen. You can't be both in one thing, okay? Just, I mean, if you can be both, then there's qualified immunity and there's absolute immunity judges have. They can do anything they want to you, which gives them sovereign citizen abilities, right? I hear rumors that's right wing and all this kind of stuff. I still beg the difference. Majority of the people, if they're truly this way, is not left or right. Okay? And it's not a sovereign citizen thing to challenge jurisdiction in the courts. Especially when as president that you can challenge jurisdiction in the courts. Just saying. Alright.
Virginia for a pretrial hearing.
Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon.
Henry T. Eldon is in the courtroom, but he is refusing the magistrate's order to come forward to the defendant's table.
I called him thrice. I have no response. Get up here in this seat right now.
That's right. The judge called him thrice. Eldon is facing multiple charges, including fraudulent official proceedings and fraudulent service of indebtedness related to falsely filing claims with the court. Today he's joined in the courtroom by a friend who's recording the proceedings on his cell phone and getting involved himself.
I'm a witness, okay? Okay, what I'm saying is, he is present, and he's chosen not to step up there. He's asking not for a appointed lawyer. He doesn't need an attorney.
So you're acting in the capacity.
I'm not acting. I'm a witness. This is an American national.
American national.
American National is another nod to the sovereign citizen movement that both he and the defendant identify.
Absolutely incorrect. That is absolutely incorrect. You guys need to quit listening to the government when they're fucking making excuses. Alright, so in this behalf right here, he's filled out paperwork challenging jurisdiction of the courts. Now, I have not seen paperwork or anything like that, but the way he's acting on right now is that his court's in the papers, not in person. And yes, every time you do paperwork, you are in session of court. Okay? And matter of fact, most of this stuff is actually in court by paper. And he's not going up there because he's not giving the courts jurisdiction over him. Okay? Mainly, I'm willing to bet because the courts were silent acquiescence about the jurisdiction. Okay? Especially personal jurisdiction. And since the courts are silent acquiescence, it stands as true in fact that whatever he filled out is true and correct. That's what the courts do to us, y'all. If you do silence acquiescence, that means you agree to their terms. Okay? And he's not going up there because he's not handing over jurisdiction to him. And he's not getting an attorney. And I talked about this before in the past. Anytime you get an attorney, you waive your rights. And the attorney gives you to the court's jurisdiction, so you are bound to the jurisdiction and you can't even challenge it because you have an attorney. Because you waived all your rights. Okay? Read the fine print. Ask questions. Okay? Quit blindly lead into some of these things. Ask questions. You don't ask questions, you don't get no answers. And they will hesitate and they will lie and all that. But at least you'll hear it from their mouth if you can ever find one that's honest. So at this point in time, he's not giving the court's jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction. He don't have an attorney, don't want an attorney because that would automatically give jurisdiction. Assumptions that he filed out the paperwork and affidavit and all that kind of stuff to this courts and challenged jurisdiction, which they are in silent acquiescence. Because that's what they do. They cannot ever be wrong, y'all.
Identify with. Eventually, Eldon does respond to the magistrate, Ward Harshbarger, but still refuses to come forward.
Speaking of which, y'all, a magistrate is a bylaw judge, contract judge. It's not even a judge. A magistrate is actually a clerk. He's not technically... We got misled into this judge thing. But a magistrate is a high clerk. Is all he is. Especially when it has to do with contract. You get a speeding ticket, it's a magistrate. It's contract.
The court order has to be established before anything can proceed.
Well, okay, well, get up in your seat now and
See, I already challenged that, right? So the clerk has got to be there and all that kind of stuff. And be recognized that she's in the process. And yet, she's not there.
we'll wait for that.
Or he.
We have some preliminary thing.
We're all waiting for the court reporter to be.
Do it now. All right, this is State versus Henry C. Eldon Jr. Mr. Eldon, I even have the seat at the defendant's table.
For the record, I'm
Shut
a
up and
witness.
sit down. You sit down and not say another word.
Seemingly getting
Yeah, the judge don't have no jurisdiction over him. You guys can argue semantics about he runs that court building. Only because the governed, we the people, gave him that. By tacit agreement because of our ignorance.
more aggravated, the magistrate turns to his courtroom deputy for assistance.
Would you get Mr. Eldon? Show you where the seat is, please?
May I have permission to speak?
You may have a seat right there. You may have a seat right there.
Eldon finally gets up to the stand before the judge, but it won't be for long.
You are going to be held in contempt.
All right, Mr. Eldon, can you stand up for me, please? Turn around and place your hands behind your back, if you would.
And who are you? And do you have a warrant, a signed
I do
warrant?
not have a warrant. I've just been made aware by the judge that he wants me to take you into custody for obstructing judicial process, okay?
But before the magistrate had the defendant arrested and cuffed, he pulls a final move out of every parent's playbook and counts to 3.
1. Have a seat. 2. Have a seat.
I would like to speak.
Notice that the judge said, "Have a seat, please." He was changing tones. The magistrate is realizing that he actually does understand his rights. Okay? They all go in threes. If you notice it just that second ago, he asked the guy to take a seat, please. Why is he bound and determined for that guy to actually sit down and take a seat, y'all? It's a judicial or jurisdiction deal, okay? And if you take a sit there, you agreed that the judge has jurisdiction over you. It's so evil what judges do. It's so wrong that we don't know, and we're listening to the wrong people. And I'm not giving legal advice, y'all, okay? I'm not an attorney, all right? I'm just voicing my opinion, okay? So I could be 100% wrong. Do not follow my lead, okay? And if you can't settle the matter on your own and you do not have the knowledge to do what they are doing and challenging these people, shut up, get an attorney, and waive all your rights. That way you absolutely do have no constitutional rights whatsoever. Unless the attorney gives you the okay to have rights. Okay? That's the only way you're going to have rights is when the attorney asks the judge, well, judge, by the Constitution, he should be granted this.
And I have information to present. I don't know how I'm instructed.
Last warning, get in the seat and we'll proceed.
Again, locked in a stalemate, the magistrate decides to just get down to business.
How will you plead?
I would like to see your oath of office. I'd like to see your letter accepting and acknowledging your office. And I would like to see the same for the prosecuting attorney. And you know the names of everyone in this room. I need that before I understand what's going on, sir.
Okay. He actually has every single right to ask for these things. And everybody in that courtroom must show him. This is not an option thing. But we've been so dumbed down, and we never challenge nothing, and the courts has been running such amok that we cannot have that one little sheep outside the fence teaching other sheep to leave the fence. So they're trying to put that black sheep back in the fence so all these other sheep will stay inside the fence. Now you try asking about a plea, so let's go.
The answer, and I will answer for him, is not guilty.
I
Okay?
haven't made any plea, nor should you make
All
any
right.
plea. I don't accept that.
Okay.
I don't accept
I don't care
anything
whether
seconded
you
to
accept
that. I did not, in your own position.
Okay, people. Judge, apparently they're allowed to do these things, but not constitutionally, y'all. What the judge just did is become his attorney. He made the plea for him. Why is that important, y'all? Because each and every time you make a plea, you make a claim. You give them jurisdiction without even knowing it. That's the reason why the plea must be in there. And so there is some type of jurisdiction established. Personal jurisdiction. Okay? But they must have that plea. And you must comply so they can get the jurisdiction. That's the reason why in these Supreme Court's opinions says that judges must say how they have jurisdiction, which they never do. You got to follow the law. They don't. Because they got this thing called qualified immunity, makes them sovereign citizens. Since everybody wants to bring up the sovereign citizen crap, that's the reason why cops can shoot you in the back. Because they got that sovereign citizen immunity. But that's what this is about. Now the judge is acting as attorney. Now if he did that to me, what I learned between here and now, thank you, sir. Now I expect you to be my attorney at the next court date. You just made a plea as my attorney. So therefore, you're going to sit there beside me and you're going to represent me in court. Since you volunteered. Consent to court. Really? Okay, civil or criminal.
Working out.
The court wouldn't confirm the details, but according to Eldon, he did not appear for his next court hearing and was arrested on a bench warrant and served 2 weeks in jail. He also says the original fraudulent service and fraudulent official proceedings charges against him were later dropped. Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam.
Okay, so let's go with argument's sake. It's a catch-22, y'all. But the only way we can get out of this mess is when we keep challenging them. And say, hey, judges, attorneys, we the people are not near as ignorant as we used to be. We figured out that you guys been crooked after all this time. And when they talked about paperwork, then fraud, if it's true in fact, and he didn't get charged because they couldn't charge him. He gave them legal documents of challenge jurisdictions and how this does not apply to them and this, and this, and this. It wasn't fraud. But by gosh, if they had an attorney, if that guy had an attorney, they would have kept that paperwork as fraud and he would be sitting in there 5 to 10 years. Because fraud on the paperwork and fraud of the court is a very serious crime. But if in fact they dismissed the case on the paperwork, why is that? Because that's 5 to 10 years. It's because that paperwork wasn't fraudulent. It was true and correct. And they can never get any jurisdiction. Now they got the warrant. And they got to put him in jail. But did they actually get to put him in jail lawfully? We've been waking up and we've been realizing what these judges actually been doing has been illegal. Have we not? I'm just saying. This court thing has been a while back. But, more and more people are starting to actually become their own attorneys. To be frank, they're sick and tired of all this. We the people are waking up. And matter of fact, I've heard the CIA has told the federal government, look, this shit's out of the bag, y'all. It's not going to be like it once was. So, I don't know if that's true and correct. But, everything that I say I'm doing on here is just my opinion, y'all. I'm not an attorney. I do not practice law. I try to get it right the first time. When I study it. But I definitely don't practice it. And everything I say or do is just my opinion. And what I can see. Okay? And it's for y'all to actually think outside the box. Why is this happening? Why wasn't that guy in jail with contempt of court? Because he never sat down and he never had jurisdiction in that court. Now, if he sat down and he started agreeing to all these things, then backtracked, then there would be a problem. But even then, when he sits down, he can still sit down in that chair and actually still say, hey, I'm challenging jurisdiction in the courts now, buddy. Since you forced me by my threat and violence, of these armed thugs beside me out of retaliation. You know, call it out on the record. Get them a little nervous. Get them a little scared. Because the one thing we need to let the government know now, y'all, is they need to be worried about their jobs. They need to know that they can be fired. I do not want harm to the government. I think we need the government. Okay, I'm not one of the ones that's saying that we don't need them. I think we do need them. But they gotta operate lawfully. And by gosh, if it's a contract thing, when you go in that courtroom, they need to tell you, well, the reason why you don't have a constitutional right is because you signed a contract and you got that driver's license. Okay? So, you may need to go get an attorney since you now know that this is a contract law thing. Or, you may have to go back and I'll change the date so you can research and study how to defend yourself in this manner, in this jurisdiction. But they don't tell you that. Right? I mean, how many times have you seen the cops actually apologize? Why do you think they don't apologize? Because they would admit wrongdoing and their attorneys are telling them not to do it. Their attorneys are telling them what they're not supposed to do. In other words, the Fifth Amendment. While they're trying to violate everybody else's Fifth Amendment, they're hell-bent on their Fifth Amendment, y'all. Take a lesson from their books, right? They're clammed up. They're going to keep their Fourth Amendment, their Fifth Amendment, their Sixth Amendment. Just saying. I don't know for a fact. It's just my opinion. I'm not an attorney. Okay, I cannot give you legal advice because I ain't an attorney. Till next time, we the people. Peace, we the people. Bye, y'all.